show is called Trailblazing Women. What does that phrase mean, a female trailblazer?
Well, when they arrived in Hollywood or when they started filmmaking, there was no path to follow. They got out there and created their own path. You know, trailblazing usually means starting out that whole beginning, but more important, it was the whole beginning of the entire movie industry. Women were there at the very beginning.
And that's what's so amazing, is that they were literally trailblazers, and yet somehow they've been edited out of the film history, and that's what's so exciting about tonight. We're going to learn about so many of these female directors.
Exactly. I mean, these women did everything, right? I mean, they ran the home. They took care of their family. They had the children. They made the movies.
Yeah. What are some of the technical achievements that are happening now in silent films?
Well, now we're going to, with the Ocean Waif, be able to see some of those changes. For a long time, you were seeing the entire body. There was no such thing as a close-up because, believe it or not, investors thought people paid to see the whole person. They would be upset if you only saw the close-up. But here in the Ocean Waif, we see Alice using things like the close-ups, the mid-range shots, actors moving much more freely in and out of the scenes, and it's become a part of the storytelling technique. The other thing you'll notice is, what I always love is, instead of using title cards, they'll often use letters or notes that you read along with the character that makes it, again, much more smooth storytelling.
Right, and as you go into the 40s, of course, then that becomes a convention to be newspaper headlines and letter writing. And what about the star, Doris Kenyon? Tell me a little bit about her.
When we see her here in Ocean Waif, I think she's like 18 or 19 years old. She's just starting out. But she's going to go on to have a great career in silence opposite John Barrymore, Valentino, and all the big stars. And she transitions into sound. In fact, if you know, on your cable channels in 1200s or whatever, you can still see her in films like, in television shows, I think like The Real McCoys she was in, and The Rifleman. She worked well into the 1960s.
Well, she has a lot of spunk in the film, and I sort of saw the film as kind of a early romantic comedy. I mean, this convention that she runs away from home, she moves into what she thinks is an abandoned house. Oh, it turns out an author goes to his abandoned house.
But it's also the story of an abused woman finding her place and getting out. So the subliminal plot points are, again, very female.
Yes. And the title, The Ocean Waif, I mean, was there such a thing? I thought the idea of a child somewhat abandoned, living by the seashore?
Well, there's actually a genre of silent films that are waif films.
Yes.
So again, it's that abandoned, the little girl or the young woman who has been abused in some way or is just very poor and usually finds shelter in the arms of some, you know, understanding and very consoling man. But Mary Pickford made several waif films.
Yes.
The Little Waif. And so did other actresses. So it was at that time, again, in the teens, there were the waif films that seemed to attract audiences.
Well, there were wonderful performances, and as I said, I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was way ahead of its time, and it's got all sorts of great...
It's nuanced, and that's one of the things we forget about. You know, we don't think of silent films as being particularly nuanced in their storytelling.
Yes.
And a lot of these are, and I think Ocean Waif is one of those nuanced stories. I mean, one of the things we need to remember, looking at silent films and what we're seeing now, is that something like 80% of all silent films are lost. So we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, and that's not necessarily always the best films, but we're able to see what they were creating and chart their incredible progress.
Okay, Carrie, let's take a look at the film. From 1916 with Doris Kenyon and Edgar Norton, here is The Ocean Waif.